Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Summits Podcast. As you can see, on location again in God's country, right here, midfield, Memorial Stadium, AKA The Rock. Joined right now by Mr. Tom Morris, Senior Assistant Athletic Director for Athletic Performance.
Quite a mouthful.
It is.
Quite a mouthful.
I'm glad I got through that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Summits Podcast.
Greatly appreciate it. This is awesome to have you all here, and like you said, this is God's country down here.
For sure, and that means a lot coming from you. And we'll get to that.
Yes, yes.
So, Tom, if you would introduce yourself to our viewers, tell us about where you're from and where you grew up.
Yeah, my name is Tom Morris. I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania, kind of the home of football. I mean, that's the real essence of where I came from, and grew up there and literally played the game of football ever since I was about 5 years old. Fell in love with not only football but sport. It kind of became who I am. It became kind of my identity. It became everything. And as I went through high school, playing multiple sports, I went off to college. Then, did you
play football in college?
So I didn't. So
okay.
the goal was, but reality set in. Went to junior college first. You know how it is. 18 years old, a little bit arrogant, a little bit, and I didn't take the time to do the work to be able to play at the next level, because the next level, playing at Penn State, as we'll get to, is it's pretty intense. So,
right.
Long story short is it did open up the door, though. No more football, but athletics was there. It opened up the door to the profession that I'm currently in, strength and conditioning.
Sure. So what position did you play?
I was a corner.
Corner?
Yeah,
okay.
corner and safety. Love defense, love just getting out there and hitting people. I mean, it was just,
Awesome. Okay, so when you went to Penn State, what was that your full intent? Did you always want to go to Penn State, or how did that come about?
Yeah, you grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania. It's the same as, it's the same as being here in Indiana, and you're a basketball player. Like, you're going to Indiana. I mean, I guess some people say Purdue, but we don't talk about them. But you grow up there, and that's it. That was in my blood. I just wanted, goal for ever since I was a young kid playing Pee Wee football was to get out there and go play at Penn State. And that's as far as I can remember, was just try to get in there and get on that field.
When you went to Penn State, and I assume you've been to football games there before that.
Correct, right.
This place is quiet now,
right.
But I can only imagine being in that stadium with 100,000+ people. It's pretty wild.
It's intense. I mean, 110,000 people screaming, hollering. You can't have a conversation like this when it's rolling. And ever since I sat in those stands, I just loved it. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to go to the games. And then I end up being on the field as a GA, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead here, but I'm on the field as a GA, and you're down in the middle of this huge bowl, and the intensity and the sound and the energy that came out of it. I mean, it's unreal. It's hard to put into words.
Yeah. Well, we're certainly not going to have 110,000 here, because it's beyond capacity. But I think with the momentum, I was telling another guest, Scott, earlier, I like the momentum that's building here. Athletic department wide, not just with the football program, but with football in particular. I think we'll see a lot of that same energy going into this year based off of what's going on recently.
Yeah, no doubt. This is the golden age of athletics right now. We got everything going on, from the new basketball coach to men's soccer, returning everybody, plus the recruiting class that's off the charts. But then when you talk about this football team, this is 16 years of being here, and what Coach Allen has done to it's unreal. The energy, the athletes he's brought in. This stadium, again, not 110,000, but this stadium is intense. I mean, when we get this place packed, the energy that comes out of it, especially from that student section over there, and everybody that's in here, I mean, you can't help but just be an IU football fan, and that energy is something that I haven't seen in Bloomington, in 16 years. So in a few short weeks, it's game day, and we can't wait.
Yeah. So speaking of which, Penn State, now at IU, talking about football, I have to ask the question you've probably been asked a few times. How did you feel about the last year's IU Penn State game?
I absolutely loved it. I mean, so this is what I always tell everybody. Grew up with the veins, the blood. It was blue. I mean, I bled it. I lived it. I loved it. Got to be there, do all that, and I'm the biggest Penn State fan. But that is all up until they play IU, because when they play IU in anything, it is 100% IU and just doing. So when that game, and I remember just sitting in there, just watching, seeing it firsthand, everything kind of come together. It's literally that vision is one of the biggest visions I have in the entire. I still just think of it, and I just still have that same excitement.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting game. I mean, obviously I'm happy about the outcome, but it was an exciting game regardless. For
exciting,
sure.
Right? No matter what would have happened, incredible. I mean, that was one of the best games I've ever been able to witness.
Yeah. So Hoosier fans, make sure you come out here, support the IU football Hoosiers this year. Pack this place. I don't want to see it just on when playing Ohio State for marketing photos. We need to pack it every game. A lot of stuff, a lot of positive things going on here.
That's a great plug, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
I love that. Yeah.
So let's fast forward from college. You graduate Penn State, and then what?
Yeah. So picture this. So I graduate from Penn State. I'm like 240 pounds. Ex-football player. Just loving the weight room. I go and my wife and I, well, girlfriend at the time, now wife, we move out here, and I want to compete. Like, I want to do something. Like, I just love the fact of playing, competing, and doing something really hard to be able to compete and show who I am. And so I got bit by what a lot of people say, like the endurance bug. This running, this biking, this everything. And in Bloomington, it flies around here a lot. And so quickly, 240 goes to 220, 220 to 200 to 180. Before you know it, years into this, I'm on a bike, I'm riding, and it's not just little rides. It's 100-mile races, it's triathlons, it's this intense world that I just jumped into, along with having a job that I really never felt like a day in my life. I mean, like I worked a day in my life. So a lot of things kind of transpired in those initial from Penn State, getting to Indiana, finding out a little bit more of who I am, and finding a passion that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah. So what brought you? How did you land the job here? That's what fostered the move, or did you guys move out here before that? So
I got the job here. So a good friend of mine, Josh Edson, he it's funny too, because Josh gets a job here. Another job pops up, and he says, hey, got another job here. Would you want to come out? And at that time, I was in Philadelphia working at a small school, and I said, I don't really want to move to the Midwest. I mean, it's flat, it's cornfields, and so I turned it down. And then a little bit of time, and I mean a little bit, like 2 or 3 months in Philadelphia, our place was broken into, and luckily Josh called again. He says, hey, another job's up. Would you want to do it? And so changed my mind, flew out here. Found out that this place is not flat in cornfields, and it's an incredible place. Luckily got the job, and my wife and I moved out about 16 years ago.
Awesome. So what year was that? You said 16 years ago?
Yeah, 5. It was about 2005, yeah.
Okay. First few years here, what were you doing, and what was your gut feeling? You're happy about your decision, I assume?
Yeah, 100%. So I got here, and I'm the assistant strength coach, in charge of track and field, swimming. I think I had like 7 teams at that point.
Okay.
But I'm doing a job look at what we're doing. Like this, look what we get to work in. So right. I'm doing this, and I'm getting up every morning, 5:30, coming to work, training the elite athletes on the planet, and you have to sit and pinch yourself because it's reality. Like, they're paying me to do this. Like, it's crazy. So I'm literally thriving at I'm living a dream, and I'm not just living a dream. I am loving and thriving and just loving every moment of it. And so, yeah, I mean, it was something that I knew I was gonna be passionate about. I knew I was gonna really like. But when you get in the environment, you get around the people of Indiana, you get around this, you're sitting there going, man, I just hit the lottery. So.
Yeah, well, I think Indiana hit the lottery with you as well, because to find employees is one thing who have the skill set to do their job. But if you find an employee with the skill set to do the job and they have the passion about it, I mean, I want more of those.
Well, I appreciate that, and I do agree with you, though. It is that there's a lot of, Indiana's great at fostering that as well, though. Even the people that maybe aren't as passionate about it. I mean, quite frankly, I didn't want to come here before I knew it, and then I got here, and it's guys like Scott and Fred Glass and all those guys that they're the top leaders, and yet I'm at the bottom as an assistant strength coach. They knew exactly who I was. They were there,
Sure.
patting me on the back when things are good. That says a lot, and when you have that top-down leadership that embraces and harnesses all that stuff. So I do agree, but I think Indiana does an incredible job at kind of fostering that to develop that passion.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So take us back to 2012, if you would, and share with us about what happened then.
Yeah, so leading up to that point, as I said, mountain biking a ton. I mean, just really not even just riding recreationally. I'm at a point where I start winning a lot of races, and it started really giving me an identity. I just loved everything that was going on. And so going into 2012, I'm feeling great. Life is good. We're going to win some races, even had some sponsors. It was totally awesome. But I go out on a training ride on May 17th with the intent to do 4 laps around this little mountain bike course.
Okay.
Lap 1, lap 2, everything's building. Lap 3 is feeling great. And lap 4, I'm really feeling good. But about a quarter mile before I'd finish the ride and end it for the day, I go around this sharp 90-degree turn, and there sat a rock in the middle of the trail, and I have no idea how I did it, but I hit it, and all of a sudden found myself somersaulting through the air, kind of head over heels, ground's coming up. I mean, nothing I could do was all I could do was just grip the handlebars, and and then all of a sudden, impact, just smack. Head hits, body instantly catches on fire. It feels like my body was electrocuted, and I'd flip around and then just lay flat on my back on the ground, motionless. So from that point, you're laying there trying to figure out, what just happened. It happened so fast,
Right.
and you're just trying to gather your thoughts. What happened? I opened my eyes, staring up at a beautiful sky. Instantly try to get off the ground, and I start pushing, and I couldn't budge. I mean, it was. I always say it felt like I was suction cupped to the ground.
Okay.
I'm laying there flat, and the more I pushed, I just couldn't budge at all. So then I just started kind of panicking, and trying to make sense of what happened. And I started putting my hands all over me just to try and gather something. And my hands got to my chest, and I always make the reference. It was like I was touching something foreign. Like I could reach out and touch a desk. I could feel the desk, but obviously the desk has nothing in it. And so for me, when I touched my chest, my hands felt my chest, but my chest didn't feel my hands at all.
Okay.
And so my head just keeps scrambling on what just happened to you? Like what is going on? And I laid there and laid there trying to just figure it out. Time is going on. It dawns on me, you have your phone in your back pocket. Let's try and call somebody. I had to call my wife, which I joke about this. Calling my wife is she's the most wonderful woman in the world. That's all up until you scare her, startle her, or piss her off. Because
Right.
Once you do that, she is gonna come at you. And so I went to make that call. And when I reached into the back pocket of just your typical cycling jersey, I felt my phone, but I couldn't pull it out. And I realized that my hands weren't working either.
Okay.
And so now I'm stuck. I'm stuck on the ground on this trail in the middle of Indiana. All 4 limbs either impaired or not working at all. And I'm stuck, vulnerable, open to everything.
Basically just wait, hoping someone comes by.
Hoping. That's all I could do at that point. I even tried to yell. I couldn't yell because it affected my diaphragm, which couldn't. The overall way to project your voice couldn't come out.
Okay.
And I laid there for about 3.5 hours.
Wow.
So laying there 3.5 hours, just with your thoughts, just with
I felt like 3.5 days.
3.5 days of just. I mean, it strangely felt. For whatever reason, I wasn't scared. I wasn't panicked. I just had this confidence that surely someone's going to come by. Like I just knew that someone was going to come by, and luckily at the 3.5 hour mark, somebody did. And and that's when kind of phase 2 of my life kind of started.
Yeah. So if you would, kind of take us through that journey from that point on.
Yeah, so immediately after this accident, airlifted to a hospital up in Indianapolis, diagnosed with a broken neck, C6, I go in for a spinal cord surgery. They fix the column itself, the spinal column, but once you damage the spinal cord, you're going to be impaired. And that spinal cord injury left me paralyzed from the chest down, with legs not working and hands minimally working. And the doctor's saying, you'll never get any of this back again. You'll never walk again. You'll never, this is you. And they told my wife she's going to be the caregiver. And that was the diagnosis. And so even with that being said, believe this or not, I was just excited. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, it's like, here's another challenge. I'm going to show them. I'm going to do this. I'm excited about it. Let's go at this. And I took that mentality into it. But on day five, everything got rocked because I had that excitement, that ready to go. But the revealing nature of how much I'd lost completely came out. And that was when everything I found out, all of my independence were gone. I couldn't comb my hair. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I couldn't move a wheelchair by myself. And when that independence is stripped away, not walking is one thing, but when you physically can't take care of yourself and you're dependent on other people, that's heavy. I mean, that is heavy. And so day five, it all hit me. And that night, it took me one night to just sit there the entire night just thinking about how do you battle out of this. And so the truth is I leaned on the things that I've always done, is kind of control the controllables. Right. If you sit in here and you just sit back and, woe is me, it just never gets you anywhere. And so I decided that I'm going to control what I can. I'm going to try and make the best effort. Spent the next year of my life in rehab just trying to do the little things like pinching a finger back together, trying to do all the little things, and with the hope that they'd add up into a life of not walking again. I mean, walking would be great, but it's just living a life that I had before, of independence, being the husband again, being able to come back to work, being able to get involved in sport again. And I could gladly say, more than gladly, that's such an understatement, but throughout that year time, I was able to gain back my independence. I was able to get my job back. I came back to work about a year after this, and then I started competing in sport about a year and a half after it. And it's kind of cool that it all kind of came together like that.
Yeah, for sure. We talk a lot on this podcast about attitude and how important that is, in particular in the arena of cancer, but really in life itself. Right. And I think that experience and that message with yourself just it rings so true to so many. So I applaud you for having that mindset, because it would have been very easy to go in the opposite direction.
Right.
And I'm sure you've had some down moments.
No
but,
doubt. Right.
Overall, that you certainly have a net positive and a net gain for sure.
Yeah, and that's what everything that I do, and the foundation of who I am is an optimist. I've been practicing it, God, for forever. I think there's a genetic. I mean, research actually shows there is a genetic component to optimistic people, and I think I've been kind of blessed and fortunate to be able to be born that way. But I also think I've had my fair share of cultivating it, practicing being that optimistic person. And after this accident, I was able to take the accident and then focus on the controllables and use positivity and use the things that I could kind of use to move forward. Because the truth is, the negative side of it, man, it's a spiraling, scary place. And like you said, it's very easy to fall into that. But fortunately, I was practicing all that up to it. So when this all happened, and even the setbacks, because there were many down days, it took me a little bit longer, but I was able to look at what was happening in front of me and look at how I could spin it in a positive manner, how I could say, hey, I don't understand this right now of why this is happening to me, what is going on, but I know that in the macro part of this event, in the macro part of my life, something good has got to come out of that, and holding on to that, it just empowered me. I mean, and it does to this day. Is bad things still happen to me. That's part of life. Life is good because I love friction. Friction. Grew up having friction with the weight room. Grew up having friction with football. But it's made me who I am. And this thing is a little bit higher friction than I wanted, but nonetheless, it still made me grow. It made me deep dive on who I am. It's allowed me to help more people and spread a better message, and to be somebody as good as I possibly can. And it's all come from friction, it's all come from this challenge in life. And I think it's so important because it's your attitude that makes that thing come full circle, and I talk attitude, and I talk about one word, and that's can, C-A-N, can. And it's so powerful because when you get up and you could just say, I can do that, your head is already looking for the positive. It's already looking for the good parts of everything. And what's crazy is in any given event, it's hard to believe there is a positive. And I always talk to people about it. It's like when you buy a new car, you go and sit down, you want to buy a new car, you pick it out, color, everything is rolling. You finally go and buy the new car, and then you go to pull off the lot, you look to the right, and there's the same car that you just bought. And you're like, well, son of a... You go out and you go to the left, and there's another car, and then all of a sudden you start seeing these cars. And it's not that everybody bought the same car as you, but it's now you've brought attention to it. It's on the forefront. It's now is something that you're looking for. And I think the same way about positivity is it's there, but if you're not practicing, and if it's not on the tip of your tongue, if it's not your way of life, you'll never see it. It's just reality. And I'm so fortunate that that's been something that's been kind of instilled in me, and it's something that I've just been extremely passionate about, and has helped me get to this seat next to you today.
Sure. Great lesson. I love it. I guess to tie this back into the Summits podcast, would you, and I'm sure this has happened, but how would you take that attitude and maybe apply it to someone who is experiencing the battle with cancer right now?
Yeah, and I can't imagine what that is. Obviously, I never. It's tough to ever say anything, because you never get to walk in someone else's shoes. But what I would say is that take the time to mourn, to say this sucks. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But the time that you have, the time that, whatever it is, maximize it, maximize what is going on, and just understand that the mind has the ability to shift. The mind has this whole mindset shift, as hard as it may be, because a lot of people say, well, that's easier said than done, 100%. But the fact is it's reality. Like, if you can shift your mind, and if you believe in that, you'll start working on that. Every single day, you'll start looking at the positive. And all you got to do is see a little glimpse of hope within something, and it'll start that kind of spiral of positivity. So as tough as it is for me to comment on anybody going through cancer or something, I still think it's the same recipe. I think it's your attitude every single day. It's being patient in the moment, taking time to be down, but just understanding that when you're down, there's no controllables down there. There's controllables when you could start seeing positivity, and you could start moving forward, and you could start making a difference and changing and maximizing every second that you do have. Because the truth is, none of us really know how long we have. None of us really know what's going to happen in the next moment. So that's a really powerful thing for me. That's allowed me to maximize every second, every minute of the day.
Yeah. Wise words. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you joining us on this episode, and go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers.